you're figuring out what projects or what types of clients resonate with you. So I don't think it is just a type of business. I think it's also a specialization.
All right, I think we're live. So welcome to the third episode in this installment. I am joined here today by my friend Dave Lisowski, who is based out of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Is that correct?
That's right.
Got it.
You
All right,
nailed it.
geography. Great, perfect. So Dave is the founder of Foxal Media. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just want to make sure I'm saying everything
man.
good.
You're killing
Perfect.
it.
Great. All right. Interview done.
All right. Thanks for having
So,
me.
yeah. So, for context, Dave, I've known you for a couple of years now. I think like maybe 3 or 4 years. Maybe, yeah, somewhere around there.
Sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I know Dave because we're in the same Facebook group. I think a couple of Facebook groups similar about video production and business. And we have chatted multiple times over the years as we've both grown our businesses. And over the course of those years, I have learned to all about what you're doing. And I admire you so much because of how your brain works and how you have systemized things in your business and how you have built your own mental frameworks around things to help you run your business, but also help your customers understand the value that you bring. And I think this is like a superpower in business. Like if you can take these complex things and break them down so that other people can understand them, and you do that in spades. So we were on a call, I think the other day, and it was something like that. And you mentioned a framework about how you visualize building value using a bridge analogy. And I was just like, oh my God, that's so perfect. I've tried to explain this so many times and that just like nailed it. So I want to talk about that a little bit. But before we dig into that, I want to set some context and learn a little bit more about you, your business, how you got here. So give me a little bit of an intro on who you are, what you do, and maybe why you do it.
Yeah, man. First off, thank you for that intro right there. That's like, I want you to introduce me into where anytime I go anywhere forever. That was great. So, I mean, I have been running my video business now where this is year 7. And to give context there, I'm 28. So that means 25% of my life has been in this business one way or another, which is wild to think about. But yeah, I just started it part-time in college, doing photo first, then video, working with bands and musicians. Kind of took this shift and sort of realized, like, wait a second, bands are broke. And this is really burning me out. Shifted into, had an opportunity to work with a business owner that I was connected with. Made my first sale for more than like $800 like I was doing before. Had this come to Jesus moment where I was like, holy crap, this makes sense. Why have I not been doing this? And started the pivot into working with businesses. And then I went full time 5 years ago when I graduated college because I decided never have this little responsibility again. I owe it to myself to try. And here we are 5 years later.
Dude, it's such a cool story. The 25% of your life thing is actually pretty mind blowing. That's wild.
Dude, I looked at the date the other day or a month ago and I was like, holy crap, we're in year 7 right now. And then I did more math and I was like, holy crap, I'm 28. This is, I don't know, like I don't remember life without this. This is it, you know? Yeah.
Wild, man. That's so cool. Okay. So you said you were doing videos in the beginning for like what, $800, like around there?
Dude, it was like, if I sold a video for $800, that was like, holy crap. Like, let's go celebrate. Like, dude, bands would bring me on. I'd charge like $100 to shoot photos of their set. Or like, I wasn't doing music videos. I didn't like it. But like live band stuff, I'd record like 2 of their songs for, $250.
Yeah.
And that's just, dude, it's fun when you're coming from like working banquets at first, making $10, $11 an hour. You're like, I get to just go to concerts and get paid to use a camera. That's awesome. And then you're like, wait a second. This is not like sustainable in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah, wait a sec. This math doesn't add up. I would have to do how many of these to pay rent? Okay, yeah, I gotta switch things up. Exactly. So, We're going to talk a little bit about this later, but I want to just kind of set some comparison there. So started around like 100, 200 to 800 around there, working with bands. Do you mind if I ask you what your average project sale price is these days?
Yeah. We have a absolute minimum level of engagement of 6K for a single video. We're probably averaging like per project, I'd say like closer to like the 9K, 10K mark, depending on what it is.
Cool.
Which if you would have told me 7 years ago that, I'd be like, what do you, stop that.
Yeah. I agree. Like before I got into the space, I remember like joining the Facebook group that we're in and seeing like the deal closed numbers. And I was like, yeah, this is made up. That's not how much a video production company makes. But for context there, you're not working with bands anymore. You are working with businesses and brands and corporations and stuff. So there's a bit of a different value there that you provide, and there's a totally different budget that is allocated for these things. So having been in the video space for a couple of years now, and having delivered countless projects, we get to see the exact value of our video and how it produces revenue for the business and drives new signups and sales and automates things. And now when I hear like 9K kind of around the average, I'm like, yeah, that's dope. And I still think like there's upward trajectory there for room to grow because the value that you provide is way more than that. So tell me a little bit about the types of clients that you work with these days.
Yeah, we are no longer working with bands, musicians. Not like, and I still got love for it. I still am. I love that world. But as far as the business side of things, no, we're working primarily now with home service businesses. Right. Been really focused the past, really this whole year on making that shift because it's always been a common thread. But we've worked with gym owners, fitness people, like schools, universities, big networking groups, all types of different things. Just the common thread there is businesses that have an understanding of wanting to do more than what they're already doing. Like awesome. Understanding that their business can be something more and then investing in it.
That is a key thing. Before getting into business, I thought that was every business. And after getting into business, I've realized that's not the case. But tell me a little bit more about the home services. So when you say that, what does that mean? Can you give some concrete examples of like what that industry looks like, or like what maybe just one of your clients, what they do?
Absolutely. Home services, think like HVAC, heating, air conditioning, roofers, painters, tree service, like masonry, all those types, builders, things like that, where it's oriented around a home. And I reached this point because for years I was trying to figure out like who does it make the most sense for what we do, these high value video assets. It's those people where their customers are putting a lot of trust in them because they're coming into their homes. So it's like you want to vet those people. What's the best way to do that? What's the most transparent way to do that? Video.
That is awesome. And I will also kind of say, like, I've worked with some of these clients as well. That's a really good reason to get into it. That's a really good kind of altruistic reason to get into it. I would say the other reason is because, and maybe people who are outside of the business world don't know this or wouldn't expect this, but the home services businesses make a killing. They are crushing it like financially. So if you were to like look at a plumber or like a roofer or any of these people, a lot of them are booked up months in advance, and they, the amount of people getting into those services and getting into the trades has dropped significantly because they're getting into tech and everything else. But the need for these businesses has not declined at all. It's at an all-time high. So because they are there, they will get business, right? But then the other people that are there also get business. So they need to stand out from those people. They need to build trust. They need to build their brand. They need to do a bit of marketing. And that's where video comes in. So if one of your clients, let's just say, I don't know, roofers or another one, like if they pay $9,000 for a video, if they land one client, what do you think is approximately, I don't know if you have the exact numbers from like your interviews or meetings with them, but like if they land one client, what about like what kind of project price is that for them?
I mean, again, it's obviously going to depend on the business, the industry, but like if you're talking like HVAC or roofing, you land one job potentially and it's going to pay for itself. I mean, again, this is not a blanket statement, but like the goal is make it as few jobs as necessary to pay the project off. And then everything on top of that, you have this asset that's making it easier to win a project over. And how much more are you getting on because of that? So, I mean, the goal is within 1 to 3 clients brought on or projects brought on, the asset has completely paid for itself and then some. Yeah.
So just speaking from a like a business sales perspective, so our side, right? Like when I first started my video business, I looked around at all the brands and businesses that I would want to work with because they were just like, oh, these are the types of businesses that I like. I know my friend over here owns a coffee shop and I love that coffee shop. I always go there. But then when I did the math, I was like, okay, so if we do a video and we increase the number of people that go there and the average coffee, let's say latte sells for like $4.50. How many lattes do they need to sell in order to pay for this video? And this is when I wasn't charging very much at all. Like I was charging sub $2,000, and the math didn't really make sense for me. But then when I actually went to talk to my friend, he's like, "Yeah, it's just like that doesn't make any sense." In contrast to that, when one of my first clients, they were a consultant, and they were like, "Yeah, so if I land like one client from this, it completely pays for the video." And that video was $1,300. So he's like, and I didn't know this until afterwards. And I was like, oh, wait, wait a sec, what?
Yeah.
Because the video doesn't just work that one time. It works forever in perpetuity. So it's not helping just land that one $1,300 client to pay for itself. It's working forever, basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like, that's the big aha moment for a lot of people when they're upping their rates, and it's the big aha moment for a lot of clients too in sales meetings, where it's like a lot of people might see a big number and it's like, wait, for like a video, if they don't get it at first, but then you break it down, it's like, look, if we've pitched this video because of the goal of, it makes sense for what we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to like build trust quicker. We're trying to make your process smoother. If this is going to help you get more clients based on what you're doing, this isn't really a massive cost at all. It's kind of like when you talk about ads and like ad spend, and it's like, yeah, the more you throw into it, the more you're going to get back. It's like, think about that, except you're throwing into it once. And then I tell people my goal is for you to be able to use this for the next 5 years before it needs to be updated. And actually, I just had a client, one of my early clients, it's been 4 years and we just refreshed a video. So now we have some proof for that.
Yeah.
That's the goal. It's like, you've got this flywheel now.
Yeah. And so one of my core business philosophies is extremely simple. Like this is like the simplest one. And it is simply create win-win scenarios. And in order for a win-win scenario to work, it needs to be an equal win for both sides, right? Like it's got to be a no-brainer for your customer, and it's got to be like something that will generate value for them. And then on your side, like the more money that you make from the project, well, then the more excited you are, and the better, like the more work effort you're going to put into it. And if you go into the project as a true win-win, everyone is on the same page, everyone is stoked, everyone is just excited to do it. But as soon as it feels off, where it's like, oh wait, you're charging way too much for this video, I don't see the value, I feel like I'm getting taken advantage of, then that sucks. And the inverse is true, where you quote a little bit less than you should have, and they're asking for all these things, and now you're like, oh my God, this doesn't make sense, I'm spending so much time and effort. So the better the win-win for both sides, the better everyone feels. And I remember hearing people say like, when they started to move upstream or upmarket with their video production, those clients, inherently were like a little bit better to work with. They were easier to work with. They were, you know, they weren't sending payments late. They were just like, okay, done. I'll just pay the whole thing right now. And I remember thinking like, oh, like I don't believe that that can be the case. Like, but now I totally understand it, because if they are willing to invest that much, then that means that they believe that they are getting that much. So you need to deliver that much. And it sounds like that is exactly what you have figured out and what you're doing in your business. You found a market where they need what you have to offer. You can offer it at a really good price, all things considered. And then if that works for them, that results in so much more sales for them, which means they can then come back to you 4 years later and hire you again. So that flywheel that's fantastic. That's how it should work, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and Justin, the thing is, at the surface level, it's a really simple equation, right? It's like the more that you get out of this, the more I'm going to get out of this. But then you start to add in other things where, like, you can look at, for example, home services as an industry, as a market. Yes, it is a higher value. It's a higher ticket offer, say replacing a roof, than maybe selling a cup of coffee. And you need just one customer to make thousands of dollars versus the hundreds of cups of coffee. But businesses are not operating at the same level or the same caliber. Some of them are, you know, brands, and some of them are like mom and pop shops. The mom and pop shop, it's harder because they are more so like their bandwidth is smaller. The vision is maybe not as grand, which is okay. But it's just knowing that if you're trying to pitch them on like a video package, it's going to integrate into their systems and improve their sales process. Well, maybe they don't have an elaborate sales process. It's probably the owner going out, getting on calls, doing estimates.
Yeah.
It's not as clear of like, yeah, we can both win here. Those people are probably going to feel a little bit more like, you're charging me a lot and I'm not getting as much out of this. You know?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, so I've worked with brands of all size. Like I would say one of the biggest is like Kraft Heinz or Staples, and then all the way down to mom and pop shops. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's cool to work with those brands, but there's also kind of like a, you know, when you work at a really big organization, you can start to feel like a cog in a wheel, right? So working with these big brands, and you don't really see much that comes out of it because what they are already doing is so big that it's like you're just like a little tiny bump in their radar, right? So, but working with a mom and pop shop, if you can help them in any kind of way, then the impact is significant. So I do believe that every business can benefit from video. There just needs to be an alignment of what they're looking for, what they need, and what the service provider can provide. So if you are a video production business owner and you're trying to move up market, then you just need to understand this and you need to know that. If you're not trying to move up market and you're trying to help your local community and just, you know, make a good living for yourself, that is also very viable and very, like, that is great. It just helps to be very aware of what you're trying to be, like where you're trying to go, and then finding the clients that align with that. That leads me into another question that I've seen asked multiple times in the group. And I've heard a little bit about your views on this, but I want to ask you kind of directly, put you on the spot. People talk about a niche, finding a niche, right? And I think sometimes people get really specific of like, oh, I need to work with, my niche is going to be only roofers in this city. It's like, well, yeah, like you could, but like, and I don't know, maybe there's nothing wrong with that, but your niche is like, we're working with a sector of businesses that can go into this. And I would argue that that is a niche. That is a great niche. How do you view the niche topic? Like, how do you, talk to me about that.
Yeah. I think my views from early on, like, I feel like when you're getting into business, you're figuring things out, you hear niche and it's like, it's that, like, I work with doctors, or like I work with dentists, or I work with roofers. And then my view expanded quickly once I kind of realized, like, how the hell are you supposed to pick that? How are you supposed to know, like, you know what? This is what I'm going to do, and this is what I'm going to figure out. You need to shoot from the hip at first and kind of figure things out to get a feel. It's like testing. It's like seeing. It's like playing Battleship. You know, you're looking at Battleship. You don't exactly know where you're hitting, but you're like, eventually you find something hits, and you're like, oh, sweet. Let's hone in on that a little bit more. Let's shoot around there a little bit more, and then eventually you've sunk the other person's battleship and you won the game. But in this case, you're not sinking battleships. You're figuring out what projects or what types of clients resonate with you. So I don't think it is just a type of business. I think it's also a specialization. For a while, I said our niche is the types of projects we do. It's the type of project we offer, because for a while we did mainly just video business cards or brand story videos, however you want to phrase it, customer testimonials, and really those were like the two big leading projects. So I would argue it's like, well, that's our niche. We do these types of video assets. And I think it shifts as you continue to move forward. And I think it's okay to shift around until you find the one that makes the most sense and resonates. Because I know that's for sure what I have spent a lot of time doing.
And I completely agree. But the way that you described it with the battleship analogy, I think is great, because that is the way you come to your niche is it's through experimentation. It's not even just like, what clients will pay me the most money, because those clients might not be the best to work with. You might not enjoy the projects, right? So it's tough for me when people come in and they're like, oh, well, you figured out that niche, so I'm going to go in that niche. It's like, well, but does this niche work for you? Whether or not someone like does target specifically roofers, I'm just going to do roofers. If they get to that point from the active experimentation and like going through and like building processes around it, and then they're like, you know what, this is actually where I want to spend my time. This is what industry I want to grow. Fantastic. But it is not that roofing is a good niche. It is that it might be a good fit for you and your business. So
you took the words right out of my mouth. Good fit. It's important on all fronts. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. I would also say what like how you structured your projects initially with like, okay, we mostly do brand stories and customer testimonial videos. That's like pretty similar to kind of how we developed our niche. Was like, okay, we're going to offer three things: brand story videos, testimonial videos, and then social media ads. Those are the three videos that we focus on. We built systems around them, documentation, implementation guides, all of that kind of stuff. So when someone comes to us, they're like, I keep hearing about video production. I don't know what we need, but because you have these selections, like I'm choosing this one. And then they go into it confidently. So you can niche down in terms of your packages, in terms of your offering, in terms of your customer, in terms of your location. There's so many ways to kind of niche down, but niching down isn't like the solution. It is the outcome of exploring in business and figuring out what works. So yeah.
A lot of people put the wagon before the horse, or whatever the saying is there. They count the chickens before they hatch, or you know what I'm trying to get at here, where they think that they start by picking a niche or picking a niche. I'm just going to say niche. It feels right that way. My Philadelphia American accent here.
Tomato. Yeah.
Exactly. People pick the niche and think, okay, now I'm going to move in that direction. And I think there's something maybe useful there a little bit to like, I'm going to try this out. But again, you can only connect the dots looking backwards. You can only get a sense of what something means and what's a correlation when you can look back at the data points that have already happened. And I would do that. I would take stock and be like, okay, let's see, based on the clients I worked with this past year, what are the common threads about them as people, about them as clients, about their businesses? Let's figure out the common denominator here, because maybe it's not just their industry. Maybe it's something about the other parts of the process that resonated and made these people the best clients to work with. And that's how I kind of just kept filtering.
Yeah. I think that's fantastic. And that the only way to do that is through experimenting and just, going through the motions. So one of the biggest things I want to talk to you about is how you were able to go from like a couple $100s per project to average around like $9,000 per project. And I want to spend a bit of time there. I think that'll be very valuable for people. But I just also want to set a tiny bit of context leading into that conversation. So this question always comes up, and I know it will come up after posting this. Dave, where do you find your clients? How do you find your clients? What does that look like for you and your business? Is it mostly through referral, word of mouth, knocking on doors? What is your client acquisition kind of breakdown? What does that look like?
Strictly airplane banners. Fly them across the beach. Hope that people call me.
I wish that was your answer. Yeah.
It's mostly my network, man. It's people that I already know who know somebody else. It's just being as visible as possible that way. And that's a slow build, you know? That's like I'm not part of any networking groups now actively, but I spent throughout the past years a lot of time doing that type of stuff because I just feel, again, for me, I connect best and people can understand what I'm all about best when I'm in front of them and having a conversation. And that's the easiest thing for me. And I think there's something to be said there about, playing to your strengths. Yeah. Yeah. No parts of cold outreach resonate with me.
Yeah.
Like again, I will say cold video outreach, like targeted, like the way that you have talked about it in the past and the way that Max does it too. Like I like that. And I have dabbled with that, but mostly for me, it's where can I get an introduction from somebody where the conversation, I'm not the one needing to start the conversation.
Yeah.
That's where I love it best. And now more recently, besides just networking and referrals, it's starting to trickle in from SEO, which is really cool. And I love that.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
Shout out to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's primarily how I've been going about it.
Awesome. So I love that because the last kind of two conversations that I had were with Max Lord and Jerry Tam. And one of their like main acquisition strategies was similar to me, which was cold outreach in the beginning. And they've seen great success with it. And you have seen great success by the in-person stuff. So there's no one way to do this. There's no one way to build a business. There's no right way or wrong way, right? And that is why I really love connecting with other business owners that are doing cool shit, because like it completely challenges all the notions that you think you have about like how things should go or how things need to work. There's other people in the group that are doing client acquisition in ways that we have not even talked about, just completely different. Very, some people get all of their clients from TikTok. Some people get all of their clients from LinkedIn. It is really about like, and I fully believe this at my core, that when you build a business, you can build it in the way that suits your lifestyle and your personality, and it should be an extension of yourself. So, yeah, solid answer. I love that. Yeah, I love that. That's great.
Yeah. Can I add something to it real quick? Just like as a caveat to like kind of like our additional context. I think everybody's going to find something that resonates with them, but the underlying principle is really just visibility, because we are always less visible than we think we are. And the bottom line is, if nobody's talking about you or nobody has reason to think about you, they're not going to. So however you need to do that to get in front of people, whether it is posting content, whether it is cold outreach, whether it is networking, the more, I say it all the time, if you can make yourself impossible to ignore, people are going to talk to you one way or another.
I feel like you and I could have a whole hour chatting about this, because I completely agree. Like whenever I'm talking to like a friend who's a business owner or someone who's trying to like grow their stuff, and they're like, oh, it's just not working. Like, I'm not getting customers. I'm like, but I haven't heard from you. Like, I haven't been reminded that you exist for the last 6 months. So like, I'll give kind of a micro example. So when I was doing video production, once in a while I would post on LinkedIn nothing about video production. I would just post like about a book I was reading or about like a challenge that I was having in my own business. I think one of the posts was like, I'm not happy in my business and I want to change things. It was like completely unrelated to I do video production. But that post got visibility and then people saw, this is Justin. He does video production. Okay. And all it is, it's as simple as this. If people know that you do video production and then within the next week, someone's like, hey, do you know someone that does video production? They're like, oh yeah, that Justin guy. But if they haven't heard from you in weeks, months, years, they're just not going to make the connection. It's not that they don't know that you exist, but there's like a object permanence where the more top of mind you are, the more you're going to get referred, the more you're going to get the sales. Even if you're not pitching your stuff all the time, you just got to let them know. What is that? What is that?
I'm agreeing with you 100%. And I have 2 sticky notes right here to remind me of that. I could probably get it closer over here. Let's see. Where are we at? Will it focus? Will it focus? Is it backwards? It says.
No, that's perfect. Does anyone have a reason to think about you today? That's great.
Exactly. So that is, I have that right here as just like a question and a reminder to be like, because we forget, because we are in our businesses. We're the ones that are thinking about it all the time at all hours of day, thinking like, what else could I be doing? What else should I be doing? To us, we feel like, of course, like this is all that's on my mind. It's like, yeah, but does anyone else have reason to think about it today? It doesn't need to be elaborate. I find the times where I just post more, doesn't matter what it is, when I just post more about the fact that like there's a camera here and I do video, the more attention comes my way, the more conversations I have. And if you're having conversations, that's usually a good indicator that you're doing something right.
It really doesn't need to be salesy. I think this is one of the things that people misunderstand is like, I don't want to keep selling myself. I don't want to keep pitching myself. Like, I don't want to be annoying. Then don't be annoying, right? Like, Dave, if you went to go see Oppenheimer and you posted a story of like, that was a great movie, the visuals were dope, someone just got reminded that you exist. And when they think of you, they think of video production. And in the next week, if someone asks them, hey, do you know anyone that does video? They will think of you. It doesn't even have to be related to video. I've seen this happen multiple times. And I know that when I go dark, when I don't post, when I'm just like behind the scenes working on stuff, like almost no sales come my way. And, that is to be expected. That's the point. Like, yeah. So
Exactly.
anyways, we could talk about this forever, but that is a core thing. When people talk about this, I'm just like, you got to let people know you exist. Not once. Like, you got to remind them.
At least twice, you know?
Yeah, at least twice.
It's my biannual letting you know I exist, everybody.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I want to move into kind of the meat of what I want to talk to you about today. So you talked a little bit about your journey of going from charging a couple of $100 for a project to, minimum, what was it? Minimum 6K?
Minimums, 6K is like,
yeah. Okay.
Won't touch it.
And then average around 9,000. Okay. For someone who isn't charging that much yet, they might hear that, and cheers to the carbonated water. They might hear that and be like, okay, well, like I want to charge $9,000. So I need to provide more value to charge that. Okay, fair. But that is one part of the equation. You also need to be able to communicate that value to someone so that when they hear $9,000, they're not like, what? So I'll kind of give a little bit of context here. There was a conversation that we were a part of, like a group chat, I think a week or two ago. And someone asked one of our colleagues, how much do you charge for a video? And at this point, they had only seen, I think, an ad or something, or like one social media post.
Yeah, like a Facebook post, yeah.
A Facebook post, yeah. And they responded with we charge X amount. I don't remember what it was, whether it's 5,000, 1,000, 10,000, it doesn't matter what the amount was. But they saw one Facebook post and they said, how much is the price for a video? They responded, let's just say 5,000. And they said, ooh, that's too high. And that is exactly what should happen. That is exactly what should happen, because they do not know the value that that video provides yet. They don't have the context into what that video would do for their business. If there was a little bit of additional context there, a little bit of like bridge building to kind of to say, it would likely change the reaction. So if I say, I do video production, someone says, how much? I say $5,000. They say, that's too much. Compared with, I do video production. They say, how much? I say, it's $5,000, but it will make you $15,000. They will be like, that's a steal. Sign me up. Where do I begin? Right? So that's a bit of an extreme example, and you can't promise that they will make so much. But there is ways to communicate that value and build that bridge and make it so that it is a win-win for both sides. Make it so that they are equally as excited as you are, and make it so that that $9,000 price tag isn't sticker shock, but it's like, damn, I would be crazy to not do that. That's a steal. Like, let's do it. So walk me through your kind of process here and like how you've built up this this value for your clients in communicating that over time. Walk me through that process.
Yeah. I'll give some kind of summary explanation first, and then when you want me to take it to the whiteboard, you let me know, because we've got that angle ready to go here.
Love it.
To give the context, when somebody, will use that example again, when somebody sees a Facebook post that says like, who needs video done, for example, and they go, yes, I'm very interested in having video done. How much? And you say 5K, and they say it's too much. You're in two separate worlds, so to speak. You're on separate masses of land. You're in your own little world over here, and you're here. They're there. They have their own expectations of what video is, what it does, and for this conversation, it's video, but it could be anything, any service or product. You are here again. We say like we're always thinking about our business. We understand it perfectly. But for somebody that's over on this other landmass, they don't know, because they're doing, we'll just say like, fitness coaching, and they think a video is like someone comes out with a DSLR and they're getting action shots. It's like, well, that might be what video can be, but it's not how we do it on our world over here. So the thing is, how do you get them to understand? How do you engulf them in the culture of your people and get them to realize, like, you know what? Come visit us. Come over to our world. It makes sense over here. So I use this bridge analogy, and I find that it is just the easiest way to make it make sense. So you want me to take it over there now?
Oh, I want you to take me to the whiteboard.
Let's go. All right, I switched audio too. How are we sounding? We sounding all right?
Yeah, sounds
still?
great. Sounds great.
Beautiful. Yeah. Cool. So I think purple is a contrasty color. We're gonna find out. I'm looking here now. So we're gonna look and see. How's that look? Can you see that? Okay.
Yeah. I think so.
All right. So we got like our landmass over here. Big cliff. Let's go over this way and let's draw where they are. How's that look? Yeah, we can see that.
Yeah. That's great.
Cool. So let's say you are here. That's us. Then we're going to say client is over here. You are here. Client is over there. In the middle here, we've got all this like treacherous water. We don't want to fall down there, right? Maybe we got a shark. This is, by the way, that's a shark.
I love it.
Looks like an abstract Lugia from Pokemon. Anyway, that's what we got there. I don't get points for drawing. I get points for the concept, okay? And so we're here, they're there. And it's like, look, if we are trying to get them to pay, say, $5,000, $5K for a video, and they're over here and they're thinking like in their head that 500 is what they should pay. How do we get them over here? Well, if we just tell them this is how much it is, all we're doing there is we're building this tiny little bridge, and we want them to walk over to our world there. And when we just tell them this is how much it costs for us to do a video, all we're doing is building this tiny little support in the middle. Now, you got to think, if you're a client over here, right? You're looking over there at this bridge over these treacherous waters with this weird looking shark. You're going, you want me to walk across this right now?
This rickety little bridge that's swaying in the wind, that there's a good chance if I walk on it, I might fall, and this would be a waste of my money and my time. Yeah.
We're talking holes in the wood. We're talking swaying. There's a good chance you're going to fall off and die. You don't want that. So the goal here is, how do we build a bridge that's going to make this person over here in their headspace go, you know what? I feel very comfortable, very, very comfortable walking over there right now. And so how do we take it from this to all of a sudden, this, where we've got supports going across there, and we've got like the big wires supporting all the way across. Now, we've just went from having like the rickety bridge from Indiana Jones to now having like anything you'd see in a major city that cars are driving across every day. If you're the client over here and you what this is here is explaining to them the value of 5K. It's showing them what does the process look like. It's explaining to them that there are other people who have already chosen to pay this much and had great results. All of this bridge building here is explaining what your product or service actually is, building social proof, and then clarifying your process to them so that they are left with no questions and they feel very confident that what you are offering them is worth 5K. But until you build this strong bridge, they're over here in their little landmass looking across like, nah, absolutely not. Absolutely not. So does this visual right now make sense?
Yes. And I'm going to ask you some questions. So first time I'm seeing, if this is the first time I'm seeing this, I'm like, okay, so I got to build more support. I got to build more beams. Okay. Well, how do I do that? Can you walk me through some of the examples that you do in your business to build this bridge up? You mentioned social proof. You mentioned, like breaking down processes and stuff like that. What have been some of the key things that you have learned and been able to do to build these bridges quickly and effectively with your clients?
Absolutely. Let's get rid of this bridge here. And let's make this bridge look a little bit different, a little more easy to understand in the realm of like, how do you actually do it? What are some practical ways to do this?
Just don't get rid of the shark.
No, I couldn't replicate that shark if I wanted to. So we're looking here, right? Let's do the top level of the bridge again, just so we understand. When we are over here, there are things that we want from our clients. And that is either more sales, more of our time, or better relationships. I swear this is all going to tie in. With this, we want 5K, or we want to make that 5K more quickly without needing to sink time, or we want clients who actually resonate with what we're doing. We have a better relationship for that 5K. But for a client to actually want to cross this bridge, they need to be attracted to the business or the offer. They need to trust that it's actually going to work and that we can make it happen. And they need clarity on how it is actually going to work for them. they need to understand what's it going to look like. So really, these three work together to figure out what do we need to do? What the hell do we need to put in the middle here to build this bridge? And all that really is 3 segments. We'll break it down like this. This is the attraction part. We'll do it the A. This is the trust. This is the clarity. So if you are watching this as a video business owner, think of these as your brand stories. Think of these as your testimonial videos, testimonial vids. Think of these as your process or explainer videos. Can you see all this right here?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, these are just really 3 segments, because if you have, think about it this way, if you go to the website of a business, if client Joe Smith is looking for video, and he goes to search on Google video production near me, and he finds, 50 results there, and he's searching through, and everybody's got their portfolios and their recent work that we've done. Well, that's great. They don't know really about you, the business, how you operate. So the first component of that is you have your own brand story or your own video business card video showing what it's like working with you, explaining your values, how you operate in a unique way, making yourself stand out from everybody else that's doing the same thing in your market. Well, now they have a reason to be attracted to you compared to anyone else. Cool. Now it's really just a funnel. We've moved them down from like that consideration stage or awareness stage to the next part of the funnel. Now they need a reason to trust you. If I go, you know what, these guys seem pretty cool. How am I supposed to know that the people have actually had a great experience here? Sure, you're going to look at Google reviews and things like that, but you can't argue with real people on video. So if you have testimonial videos, say 3 different clients you've worked with who are saying great things about you, what the experience was like, you're showcasing their finished product. Now they go, these guys seem great, and people have already taken the risk of working with them and been rewarded for it. Beautiful. Now you've got a pretty strong bridge here. The last part here is clarification. Not everybody really needs it, because you can do that yourself, but if you can make an asset for it, even better. So if you can explain your process to them and let them understand, okay, once you decide to work with us, here is exactly what it's going to look like and how it's going to work for you, then they are left with no questions, hopefully. This covers the main bases of, if you have videos in place for all this, they are ready to get on a call with you and want to work with you before you have even talked to them. That's how you build a strong bridge.
That's fantastic, dude. That's awesome. And that makes so much sense to me, because those are the 3 things that someone needs to see or feel, or just like they need that in order to make these big purchasing decisions. I think sometimes this is hard for like video business owners or any business owner to kind of wrap their head around, because there's not many things that I have spent $9,000 on. I would say like maybe the biggest purchase that I've ever made is a car, and it was $13,000. And if I think through that decision-making process, I needed to be educated that the car was good, that it was gonna last me. It was gonna be a good purchase. It was reputable. I also needed to know that I could trust the car. I needed to look at reviews. I needed to see what other people's experience were like with this car. But the last thing for me was, I would say this is like the process and stuff like that. I needed to feel confident that if anything went wrong with the car, or I had any questions, because it's like my first big purchase, that I had an avenue to do that. So I purchased a car that still had a warranty, and I went directly through the Mazda dealership. And all like walking through their process of like what happens if there's a warranty claim and all this other stuff, like that was like kind of the final thing. But if I never saw a Zoom commercial for a Mazda, which, in this case would be like maybe like kind of like a brand story thing. But like that got me thinking about it. That got me like, okay, I like the idea of this. I like what they stand for. I like this kind of stuff. And then if I never saw the reviews, the favorable reviews on the vehicle, and then if I never got to take a peek into their process of like, what happens if this, what happens if this, how do I get, a loan for the car, all this other stuff. They made it very, very easy to do that. So basically, I went from being in the market for a car to buying a car within a couple days. And if any of those things were missing, then I wouldn't have bought that car. Or I would have went to somewhere else who did have those things in place. I would say each of them were equally as important as the last. So yeah, that's a great way to visualize it, man. Okay, I have a couple more just kind of quick questions on this. Okay, the bridge is built. Great. Is there let's say you've built that bridge. Is there anything that you can do kind of like day to day after those things are done, where it kind of adds a little bit more support beams to the bridge over time? Like, is there other things that you can do there?
Yeah, it's if you understand the principles, then it makes it a lot easier. So let's switch back here. Okay. So really, it's these things down here. It's knowing what you want and what a client needs. And you can apply this outside of your own. I apply this to home services businesses. And it is easy to pick up and apply anywhere. It's like, you over here, you want these things for yourself. Can you hear me okay?
Yep. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I had a random call come in there. Your client is over here. These are the things they need. Again, like you needed to have experienced these things to want to buy the Mazda. What they wanted out of it was these things. So if you understand that you need to do things that are going to make people attracted to you, that are going to trust you, and it's going to clarify your process to them, you can put that anywhere. So say, for example, okay, cool, I've put these assets into my website and into my process, my onboarding process, whatever that looks like, whether it's your website, email campaigns, ads, things like that, you can put it anywhere. Say you prefer social media, cool, you got story highlights, put up testimonial story highlights. I know you just went through and like put a bunch of them up there. That's fantastic. You now have a stronger segment of your bridge here because it's just another touch point where people might find you. Think about it this way. Instead of thinking it as one bridge, where can you build the bridges in all different directions? Mm-hmm. You know, New York City has like 29 bridges or something like that, because people are coming there from all different ways. So it's understanding that, yes, Justin gets leads from Google search. Justin also gets leads for different things from Instagram and Twitter, or whatever the hell it's called now, and all these different places. So it's knowing, okay, story highlights was one example. You could also go Linktree. You could have like, here's our frequently asked questions. That goes under clarification. You want to make people more attracted to you, like even like a Facebook banner can do something like that. And it explains quickly what you do.
Yeah.
All of these places are things that, and then think about the daily action. So like gathering testimonials, right? You just got me hooked on Senja. Senja, bam, you have an automation in place where you're asking previous clients or new clients after a certain point what their experience has been like. We keep adding to this middle part here. I have, and I need to explain this one to you too, my watermill content. Every single time I'm on a shoot on a project, I'm generating easy content from that to showcase, here's what it's like when we're working with clients behind the scenes. We are attracting more people, but also clarifying the process. So it's just, what are you doing on a daily basis to just be visible, like we said before, and have it fall under these categories? It's really just a way to think about, like, how do you categorize your marketing efforts to make sure that they at least check one of these things?
Yeah. That's great. Yeah, that's fantastic, man. That was so good. That was so good. I'm so stoked that I asked you to hop on this call. Okay, so there's a couple other questions that I want to ask you. Some of this stuff I can kind of pull out and insinuate based on what we just talked about. But
Yeah.
You mentioned Senja. So before we hopped on this call, I said like I want to talk to you about like some of the equipment and tools and processes and stuff like that. Let's talk specifically about some of the tools that you use to either build this bridge, like, and I don't mean like cameras and stuff like that, but like, what kind of apps do you use? Where do you post some of this stuff? Like, is it Instagram, Facebook, Threads? I don't know, like, old man here. Is there any tools that you use that can help automate some of that stuff? Even like, so you mentioned that you break down some of your processes and stuff like that, or during the process of working with the client, you send them process docs. Like, what does that stack look like for you? What tools do you use, and how do you make this so that it's not a manual action that you have to do every single time to build that bridge? What does that look like for you?
So I'm always, maybe it's a double-edged sword. I'm always figuring out what are new ways that I can like improve the process and automate things. And then I kind of have to reach a point where I'm like, it's good enough now. But the way that I kind of have it is somebody goes to my website, right? They find us.
What do you use for the website?
Oh, I use Squarespace for the website.
Okay.
And I use this great template, this awesome template. Use Justin's template if you are a video business owner. It's fantastic. I use that, and then I have my discovery form there. So if somebody sees my video assets there, and which I use Vimeo to host them, and then Vimeo is great because you control the end screen. So instead of it being like YouTube, like here's more videos, Vimeo, I can fully customize. I have a preset made where it's Foxal website. And it changes the colors, it changes the end screen, the call to action. So instead of it going, here's more videos you want to watch, it says, you should schedule a call. Like what you see, schedule a call, and the link. I have that there. They schedule a discovery form, which is embedded via Calendly. And it's 10 questions, gathers their information. Calendly then, from that point, this is where some of the automation kicks in. They fill out my discovery form. It automatically puts it on my calendar based on my availability that I've input. It automatically will send them reminders, but also I have to look. It used to take them to a website page that I custom made that would show them the next steps. So we're talking now the clarification part, the clarity. It used to take them to a video that would say, here's the next steps. Here are some more example videos, or like it had more testimonials there. Like, here's some great things that people say about us to prepare them. Now I think it might just take them to like a default confirmation page with a video. I have to look at that. But then we get on the call. They've already been prepped for that type of stuff. They know in that video, the next steps video, I'm telling them, we're getting on this call. I'm getting on it with the intention that we are going to see if we're a good fit. And if we are, based on what we talk about, we're going to end that call by making a decision about working together. So that way it lays the framework. Okay, you understand that. Calendly does all that stuff there. Squarespace, they work together. After that, I end the call by saying, okay, if this makes sense, I'm going to send you a proposal, because there's usually other decision makers they need to take. But I use Better Proposals, which is a great platform, great tool, because I get tons of compliments about, that looks so great. I've got everything templated, so I can send it to them quickly. It is a manual process. I haven't fully automated that, but the feedback is fantastic. It lets them automatically sign the contract. It also can let me put options if they want to choose packages. They can do that themselves. They sign right there. They pay a deposit right there. Goes into the system. And then I have to automate this part to send the next steps there about starting the project, because it used to send them scheduling links for a deep dive. Now I need to re-automate that from switching platforms.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the process.
That's great. Okay. I love that. So every step there that is automated saves you not just time, but it saves you mental capacity, mental RAM from not having to do it yourself. And when you do have to do everything yourself, and I'm sure it was the exact same thing for you when you started, we did everything ourselves, right? Like every step was like, okay, I got the payment. Now I got to do this. Okay, the schedule call. Now I got to do this. So every step that you can get out of your brain and do it right once, not only frees up your time and your energy, but it makes it a better experience for them, and it builds that bridge a little bit stronger. So if you think about it, when you're going through, like, let's say a checkout on a website, and it's janky as hell and it doesn't give you any information, you don't build a lot of trust there. But when you go through and everything's seamless and they've thought of everything, and it's like, oh, we think you might have these questions. Here are the answers preemptively. You're like, damn, these guys know me, right? So you mentioned the confirmation page. I think it was the confirmation page after they book, or like an email that they get, or something where they go to after they book. This is one of the most overlooked places to build that trust, right? So, okay, let's use the bridge analogy. You've built the bridge. Someone's taking the first steps to go over that bridge with you. They schedule that call. Let's say they're like 25% way across that bridge. If you then send them something that's like, great, first step complete. Like, now this is what to expect going forward. It's going to work like this. It's going to work like this. We can't wait to talk to you. Well, then they're just like prancing across that bridge. Like, oh, okay, great. But if you don't, if you kind of like squander that opportunity, they have not made a buying decision yet. So if there's nothing there, or it leads to a 404 page or something, then maybe they get to that 25% of the bridge and they start hearing it creak. They're like, oh, this bridge is maybe not as secure as I thought it was. And they start getting maybe not buyer's remorse, but they feel like they can still run back at any moment, right? I know in my video business, the way that I had the onboarding set up, or just the discovery and everything else, it's not really set up properly right now because we're not taking on new clients, but it was similar to this. And one of the pieces of feedback that I regularly received in sales meetings was, we're excited to talk to you because already just the process of like setting up a call to talk to you has been great. And your confirmation page was great. And like, it makes us feel like this is not your first rodeo. But every other video person that we went to go hire, we fill out a form, and it's just like, it's like an afterthought. And if you have dialed in your own processes like this, then we have faith that you can help us dial our processes in. So I think that is so smart the way that you've done it. I think each one of those steps is equally as important. It doesn't, I want to say, like, it ultimately doesn't matter what tools you use. If you're using Calendly or Acuity or whatever else, doesn't matter. If you're using Better Proposals or Honeybook or whatever else, it doesn't matter. It is the way that you're using the tools in tandem for a cohesive experience that matters. And I feel like you do that very well.
Well, thanks, man. I mean, that's the way that you got to look at it, is it's customer experience. That's how I pitch video projects nowadays. I'm not pitching ROI. I'm not pitching, like brand awareness. I don't run ads. The whole thing is, let's improve your customer experience. Because I mean, look, switch back over here. If you're looking over here, it's really just like, it's a linear version of a funnel. Like the funnel gets narrower, but I don't really like that. It feels so like cold and transaction-y and marketing. It's like, if we are practicing what we preach of like building relationships, then building bridges is the best analogy we've got for that. And yeah, like you said, if you're missing parts of this, people feel like they can turn back. People might fall off. I mean, if you think about that, somebody can book a call and then no show. It happens. But to reduce, it's like, this is where it gets markety. you've got, you know, a checkpoint right here of where somebody, that's a conversion point. Cool, they've booked a call. How many no-shows do you have? These are questions that you can ask in sales meetings. Oh, so you would say like, you know, 3 out of 5 people show up to your appointments. Well, what if we got that up to 4 out of 5? What would that do for you? Cool. How do we improve this touch point here? Let's add a next steps video where it automatically gets sent to them. Exactly like what we were just talking about. So it's like, look at this bridge as the customer experience. The better your customer experience, the better, the more likely that you're going to be able to build a stronger bridge. Like that's what this is. So yeah, it's figure out those touch points, those checkpoints. I actually call them checkpoint videos sometimes. Where are all the checkpoints in your process where we can add an asset that's going to make people more comfy, more feeling like they can say yes. It's not just video. Like you said, it is the entire buying experience, like a fast loading page, a checkout point that actually loads right and doesn't just like reroute you to a 404, things like that. If you can make this smooth all the way across, people are gonna cross it. People are gonna cross it again and again. They're gonna tell people about that.
So good. So good. Okay. I have a couple more questions for you. I don't want to necessarily ask about the equipment now because I don't want to take emphasis off of this part, which this is the part that matters. What cameras you shoot on, almost irrelevant. I know that I could hand you like the oldest Canon mirrorless or DSLR, and you would still do magic with it. It is like how you are acquiring the customers that is really impressive. How you are building that relationship with them, and building that trust to have these long-term engagements. So just a couple more questions. Before this call, we were talking a little bit about pricing and stuff like that. And you mentioned something about, you know, if we're doing a one-off project, it's about this. But what we're really interested in is like the longer term stuff. So walk me through a little bit about that, because I'm sure when you start your video business, they're one-off projects, and it's a lot of one-off projects. And every single time you finish, you got to find another client. Finish, find another client. How are you moving towards these long-term projects, and what is different about that process? What is different in the communication of these projects? This is something I feel like a lot of people are trying to figure out. So if you could touch on that, that would be great.
Yeah. And so context and full transparency, this is something that I only like within the past year started to like nail down a little bit more. It was a lot of one-offs. And I realized what it was is it really comes down to how you're starting the conversations. So when you're in a sales meeting or a discovery meeting, discovery call, whatever you want to call it, that first contact, how are you framing up the big vision of what can be done? And for a while, I don't think I was doing a good enough job at that. But how I do it now is I'm uncovering, I know that we're talking about this. I'm pointing to the whiteboard over there for anybody who has no idea of the layout of the room. We're talking about this bridge, the customer experience. I know now any project that we're going to do is going to tie back to that. And if it's something else, we're probably not the right fit. But there's a lot that can be done there. So that I'm asking these questions, that's all of a sudden uncovering all these different opportunities to create videos outside of just maybe the one that they were initially interested about. Because a lot of people will ask, like, I have on my form, what video are you most interested about? People will click like brand story video or customer testimonial. And I'm not going to hop on the call knowing that, but I'm also going to uncover, well, that's fantastic. This is a great thing that can work into your process. Tell me about your process. Like, from the point that somebody finds you online and thinks you look pretty cool, what are the steps they go through to get on a call with you and then to become a client? Walk me through that. I want to figure out every touch point. So it really basketed into, again, those 3 points right there. What are the videos we can create to attract? What are the videos we can create to build trust? Testimonials and case studies. What are the videos we can build to clarify? Explainers, service videos, process videos, next step videos. That's where you get a lot of the meat there. But then you can extrapolate that and say, well, yeah, we can do that. And I think this brand story video could do a lot for you. But it sounds like there's a lot of more opportunity with all of these other things as well. And then you can pitch it up as, either a full large package, or say, like, what I'm trying to move into now is say, like, let's do all of this now because it works. And then kind of build it out as like a tail end monthly recurring revenue, where it's like, let's just break the payment into 12 months or 6 months. Right, so maybe it's expensive for you right now. Don't worry about it. I want you to start using it now. Let's get it on auto pay for the next 12 months. Is kind of the model.
That's great. Yeah, that's great. So I know you are, I know that you've been building this business for a long time. And I know that at this point, things are pretty dialed in, but I know you're always learning and experimenting. I know you have a course called Burn Your Business Card Academy, right?
Yes.
And I have not taken it myself personally, but I know a lot of people that have, and they rave about this fucking course, because I'm sure anyone who's watching this right now can see that you can break things down in a way that kind of demystifies them and simplifies them. And you lay out your process and your strategy in a way where it is virtually impossible to not get it. And I also think you're humble, so you probably won't mention the Burn Your Business Card Academy. So I want to mention that if anyone is interested in learning more about this stuff and learning more about these processes and how to kind of build this stuff, I highly recommend checking it out. I have full faith in what you bring to the table. So I just wanted to nudge that in there.
Thank you, man. I would not have. I don't do shameless. I'm very strict with my shameless plugs. So thank you for shamelessly plugging me for me.
Yeah. It's funny. Like, in the groups that we're in, I often, like, I don't see you plug yourself. It's often other people that plug you. And I think that's good. I think it's a good thing,
man.
Yeah. It's a great thing. But yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there. Okay. A couple more questions that I want to ask you. The first one is about what didn't work. So we already mentioned, like, okay, you cold reach out is maybe not your cup of tea. Okay. Is there anything else that didn't work for you in terms of whether it's building the business, whether it's, taking on the wrong type of clients that didn't fit kind of what you were looking for, or whether it's like you tried to pitch something some way and the client was just like, no, that bridge is not there for me. These are not things that don't work. These are just things that maybe didn't work for you. Can you break down what some of those are and kind of how you got past those?
Yes. I am a victim of the curse of 1,000 good ideas. And I think this is something a lot of entrepreneurial people deal with, where you may know it as shiny object syndrome. I prefer the curse of 1,000 good ideas, because everything, like you said, it's not that it doesn't work, it's that it didn't work. And I think these things didn't work because you got so many ideas going on. You want to try and push them all. And if you don't have the time to really dedicate, then it won't work. So I've had a lot of those, like, great ideas. I mean, I've thought about and started to push a little bit, like, we were going to do like full gym content systems where we were going to go in and similar to kind of this, we were going to create a whole series of videos for gym owners and then break it into like like an organized cloud-based folder for people so that it was searchable with tags. So if you need someone that's doing like dumbbell workouts, you can search dumbbell, and like that B-roll would show up, and like all these different things, stuff like that. I was gonna do it was called like brand trailers, so it was gonna be like the next tier up of brand story videos, and it'd be cinematic. And I'm like, why am I doing all this? These are things that they sound exciting because they're new, and it's a problem a lot of the time. So what didn't work for me was a lot of these things that I would try and like put a little bit of effort into when I should have been focusing on the things that had a history of working. That's one aspect. And then the other, I know I said earlier that I did a lot of in-person networking, but it reaches a point where it's no longer useful, in my opinion. Or maybe you need to upgrade the people, the circle that you're in.
Tell me about that.
Yeah, I was doing BNI, and BNI, for those who don't know, it's a massive international networking group. I honestly forget what it stands for. Business Networking International, I think, maybe.
something like that, yeah.
Yeah, you pay yearly dues, and you meet weekly, either for breakfast or lunch, and it's the same group. It's limited by seat. So if you're the video person, no other video person can join. If you're the roofer, no other roofer can join. And I think it's great for local businesses and like people who are kind of getting things going, or who are very, very easily referable. If you are, say, like a wedding videographer, you might thrive there. But for me, this is before I had it fully locked down, the messaging too. I was like, well, we do like marketing assets for businesses, for like high ticket businesses. That's very hard for people to easily refer and be on the lookout for, instead of like, do you know anyone who had like roof damage because of the storm that just happened? It's like, right, do you know anyone who has a great product and service, but they could improve their customer experience a little bit? So after I did make some great connections there and did get a couple great clients, but over the 2 years I was there, it no longer worked for me personally in the business I was building.
That is a very good that's very good context, because I think a lot of times people will hear these tactics and be like, okay, networking events, I will do that, and then they do that. It doesn't mean that is the thing that you need to do throughout the duration of your business. It could be something that works in the beginning and doesn't work as well later on. So my kind of rebuttal to that, or like similar experience but different, was with video outreach. So in the beginning, I didn't have a network, just like you. I didn't have a network of people that could refer me business. So I did a lot of video outreach. And in the second and third year of the business, I didn't need to do video outreach anymore, because I had built up a network of people. We built up our SEO. We were getting leads from these other places. So I no longer did it. That doesn't mean it doesn't work. It doesn't mean that I couldn't still do it. It wasn't the right fit at that point in the business. As business scales, the marketing techniques should scale as well. Eventually, like if you decided to build your business up to have 30 employees for some reason, let's just say that's the way you want it to go. Eventually you would need to do like more high level marketing, like Facebook ads and LinkedIn ads and all this other stuff. But at this point in your business, if you were to like go hard into that, you would saturate yourself and it wouldn't make sense for what you're doing right now. So that doesn't mean it's not a good tactic. It just means like at this point, it maybe isn't the right fit. So finding these strategies and these tactics at the right times and recognizing when is the right time to use it and maybe not is important. Also, what you said about the shiny object, 1,000 good idea, the kind of thing. So I think it's you mentioned this about like, it's not that these ideas wouldn't work. It's that you were doing so many different things at once that you couldn't give it maybe the time and energy to make it work. I am of the believer that most things will work given enough like dedication and grit and time. Like, I mean, like almost anything. Like, okay, if I go door to door, knocking on doors and pitching my video service, like physically, most people would be like, get off my lawn, like go to hell. But if I did it enough, might take 1,000 doors, maybe one of them would do it. So maybe not the highest ROI of my time, but any strategy essentially could work if you give it enough energy and time and attention. And as a business owner, you might not have unlimited time and energy and attention. I certainly don't. I got to be strategic about the things that I take on. It's, exact same for you. So yeah, good lessons there overall. I think that's smart the way that you frame that. Okay, next question. Unless you have something else to add there, but yeah. Okay. I want to ask you about the risks and pitfalls. So I don't think there's as many risks and pitfalls to building a bridge and educating, your clients and stuff. I can't see many risks there, but there are risks in terms of, okay, I'm going to pitch a $9,000 video or a $20,000 video, or I'm going to move up market, or I'm going to niche into home services. Like, there are inherent risks and pitfalls for any which direction that you go. Can you think of any kind of big risks or pitfalls that you have either experienced yourself or could potentially experience in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a big one that comes to mind is you made a good point with the niching. It's like there is a degree of risk you take when you choose to target a specific demographic or audience or anything like that, or offer a certain type of thing, because you're limiting yourself. The goal is you're limiting yourself to then expand. It's kind of like when you build pressure. It's like if you have a flow of water and then you tighten the hose, it's going to shoot way faster, right? So you're limiting to speed up.
Yep.
But the goal is, it's like, are we tightening the hose at the right spot? Is there enough water coming to actually affect this? And that came to mind many times whenever I would think like, oh, let's start targeting these people now. And there were times where it was pitfall. Like when I was trying to target gym owners with like successfully branded gyms or fitness brands, I don't think it was as good of a fit for what I was trying to offer. And I just needed to kind of like have it not click for it to click, if that makes sense. So things like that, I think it's always a risk. And I arguably, as I'm still kind of in the process of this niche to home services, I haven't like announced it anywhere. On the back end, yeah, the website, if you go to the website, it's very clear that that's what it is. If it's social media, but I've never come out yet and said like, hello, everybody, this is our focus now. There's a risk associated with that, where it's like, are the home service businesses in my area, are there enough of them that are going to resonate with this? Or have I already found the diamonds, based on the previous experience? I don't think that's the case, because I've gone pretty balls to the wall with this. But that's a risk. That's a pitfall. I think you said a good one about pitching a high budget project. I read through the framework with Max, where it's like the scope, right? Any type of project. If you're pitching something and you're like, I think we have this innate thought where we're like, we could do all of that. Sure. I know I've been there. I'm like, yeah, we'll do these 3 videos for you like this month, and then we'll just quickly move into the next stuff. And then all of a sudden you maybe don't have the exact process in place yet. And you're like, oh shit, that one video took us a lot longer than we thought it would. And we still have 2 more to go. Crap. Like, we need to figure that out. But I think there's opportunity there to, fine tune things if you do it right.
Yeah, those are good ones. Yeah. I love that. I remember there was a video project that I took on. It was one of the largest ones we took on. It was over $20,000 for the project, and I worried about this project so much that I basically burned myself out trying to fulfill it. And a risk that I didn't anticipate was the mental pressure that I would put on myself. This was not put on by the client. The client was super chill. The client was like, yep, do whatever. But dealing with that amount of money and putting this pressure onto myself, I basically had to take time off after the project to recover. And that is something that, like, I don't think anyone could have told me or prepared me for, which is not like that client's going to be tough. It's like, no, you are going to have a hard time with this because of your mindset maybe isn't ready for this type of thing, or like it needs to grow to match it. And that's a risk that I've never heard anyone talk about. So I
love that one. I as you were going through that, I thought the same thing. And it's a story that I've talked about in the group a lot, where it was a big learning experience for me. And it's funny because if you go back far enough, you can see my initial posts about it, where I was still learning about it 5 years ago. And I think you nailed it, where you talk about like you needing to grow mindset, the risk of jumping levels of mindset to try and match a client too fast. When I was it was within the first year of like deciding to go full time, I was figuring so much out still. The highest project I'd done was maybe like, I don't know, $3,500, which at the time was sick. And I actually, when I was working with, I mentioned earlier that client that we 4 years ago did a video and we just redid it. When we first did it 4 years ago, through her, I met the CEO of this gigantic tree care franchise. He was super cool dude, made a ton of money, local, wanted to work with me. He saved me in his phone as like, Dave the video killer. I'm like, let's go. This guy's awesome. He wants to do so much video. And he mentioned how he wanted to do this big idea of like tour around the country to go to their different franchises, like pick franchise spots, do a grand tour, create a bunch of videos from that. And then he's like, let me know. Like, that's my idea. Let me know what it's going to be. I'm like, my eyes are glowing. I'm like, this could be it. This could be the big thing. I put together, dude, I think it was like over 50 pages of like a proposal, like slideshow with like tons of detail and everything, like game plan, maps, routes. And I remember like, I didn't even quote a number. I went through in this meeting with him. I look back, I'm like, he must have thought I was an idiot, like dumb kid. And I went through all this stuff with him, like fast forwarding because I'm realizing they don't really care. And I was like, when it came time to the budget, I was like, it honestly, with all this, we'd probably be looking into like the six figures, because I couldn't say $100,000. I couldn't bring myself to say it. I sheepishly said it, and they were just like, okay, yeah, like, well, we'll talk about it. I sent them the slideshow and everything. I'm like, what the hell? I was stressing for 2 weeks putting this together, and they didn't care. He's the type of guy that I didn't realize at the time. All I had to do was just say, like, honestly, we could make like 10 really solid videos out of this, and we'd probably be looking at like $100,000. He'd be like, all right, let's do it. Let's make it happen. Yeah. But I wasn't there yet. I didn't think to even ask or look for help about that. And it never happened.
Dude, that's such a good story. It's such a, yeah, man. Like, I don't want to say like it's such a rare thing. I don't think it's rare, but I think it's like when you start learning about business and like how different businesses operate and like what kind of things they do and what kind of revenues they create. Like, I remember first learning about video production, and I was like, wow, you can make $5,000 for making a video? Like, wow, you can make $10,000? And I was like blown away. I was like, that is like, those people must be rich. Like, those video people must be ballers, right? And then as I started working with other video or other businesses, I started seeing how their businesses operate and what kind of profit margins they had and what kind of dollars they had in the bank. And I quickly realized like this is a deep, deep, deep rabbit hole. And in the beginning, I was working with a lot of business owners who were maybe at the similar level than like as I was. And I was like, okay, I kind of understand the hesitations they would have with spending this amount of money. And eventually I was like moving kind of upward, up and up and up. And there was certain things that would happen if I went kind of too far above and beyond where my like mental game was at, that I just like, I didn't know how to deal with. So another example is with the larger brands that I worked with, they could not meet my pricing schedule. So for example, yeah, it's 50% upfront and then 50% on delivery. No, that doesn't work for like international retail chains. They're like, yeah, we can't do a deposit. We wouldn't be able to get that approved in the next 6 months. But you can do the project and then we will pay you, 6 months to a year down the line. And I didn't know how to deal with that. I was like, that is insane. Like, who do you think you are, kind of thing, right? And then I remember going to the group and actually going to other friends of mine, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's normal." I'm like, what do you mean? It's like, oh well, they have so many layers of approval that they need to get, and they this and this and this, and like yeah, like you almost can't expect that they would pay you at the same rate as the local business owner. But before I talked to anyone about it, I was stewing in my head for weeks. Like, I'm gonna go to the news. This is, like just ridiculous.
The audacity of that.
The audacity of these. That. Yeah. And I made a much bigger deal out of it than it was. And for them, they probably were like, no, this kid is not like, we're not going to hire him again. Like, I don't really know what the lesson is here besides like, I think it's good to level up and I think it's good to constantly be kind of reach, that next level, but you need to learn how things work at that level before you go in there guns a-blazing, because you could look like an idiot, like it was in my case, or you could sabotage the sale, which sounds like what might have maybe happened in your case. So,
I think an additional lesson might be there. It really ties back to one of the kind of sub themes of this conversation, and that's niching. Where like if you fully understand the industry you're working in, you never run into that. And not only do you not run into that, it's like FAQs when you can already answer the questions that people have before they even ask them. Then you're in. If you're the video person that, imagine if you had already worked with like 10 clients like that, and then you're like, yep, oh yeah, I know. Yeah, I'll have this to you. I'll send you this, and then if the payment looks, if everything checks out, we'll do payment on the back end. Like, boom, then they know that level of comfort's insane. Yeah. And that's why it's so hard to say, this is going to be my niche.
Yeah,
you don't freaking know.
Yeah. Great. I think I totally agree there. Okay, last thing, and then I'm going to cut you loose here. The last one is resources. So is there any resources that you would recommend to, let's say, like a video person who's trying to grow their business, trying to increase the average project sale? This could be courses, this could be YouTube videos, this could be anything. But I want to give you the caveat here that a lot of the video business owners that I know, including you, can benefit from resources that are not just how to grow your video business. I know we both like listen or subscribe to like Justin Welsh and a couple other things. So whatever resources that you can say that you have benefited from in the last couple of years to grow your business, grow your mindset, not strictly related to video, but just as a whole.
Yeah, I'm gonna switch audio over here. So I have, obviously, if you haven't checked out the Marcus Rideout book, Video Selling Formula, that is my one. If I'm going to pick one video related asset, I pick that because I think it universally applies to all types of sales. But I will also say that, where are we at? This one, $100 million offers, Hormozy. It's like the Bible, and straight up, it's like a workbook. You got it too. I know you got it too right there. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Like, I mean, I love it because it's like a workbook. There's like crude little drawings and stuff, and it's super useful. There's like, I like it because similar to like this here, he like formalizes things that are hard to think about and makes it like very easy, very straightforward. That is a great resource as far as like an actual like purchasable resource. As far as sources of knowledge, wells of knowledge, like you said, Justin Welsh has been tremendously great. Actually, his information that he gives, but also I bought his one course and I used his course structure to structure mine because I loved it so much. It just made so much sense to follow.
Same.
Yeah. See? Thank you, Justin Welsh. He's great. And then the last one that I'll add in is Jack Butcher. Jack Butcher for those who don't know, like a designer, very visual based. He has a brand called Visualize Value. And he really simply boils down these elaborate, complex concepts into like very simple geometric depictions of things. It's all black and white. It's just very simple. I think his Instagram is just Visualize Value. He's great because of that, but also on the back end, he's got a lot of resources where he fully dives deep into his thought process. And to me, that's very valuable because that applies to this. If he can explain the thought process of breaking these complex concepts down, then you can do things like this and apply that to any aspect of your business. And he's just a really cool dude too. So yeah.
Sweet. Yeah, that was great. And I totally agree. I think I bought Jack Butcher's Visualize Value course as well. Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's so interesting because like I do think that what you can learn from people like that who are not running a video business at all, I think is so valuable and fundamental because it makes you think about things in a different way. And the better that you can understand a complicated subject, then the better that you can utilize that data, that information yourself. And I totally agree. I have no more questions for you. I just want to say this was fantastic. I'm so glad that I got to chat with you. Is there anything else that you wanted to add or anything else before we wrap up?
I mean, I will just add that I cannot stress enough how much I appreciate you and just the resources that you provide to creators in general, and just what you're doing here with this, I think is tremendously valuable. Like it's cool being on this end of it, but I read your entire breakdown of like Max's process and just found it equally as valuable. So I hope that you continue to do this, and I hope somebody finds this breakdown valuable.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, that's the pod. Thanks, dude. Take care.
Peace.